Good afternoon, Kumar sir. So I was trying to install the package, but it is not showing Vuforia in my this thing. I don't know why.
Okay, so let me shall I show you this again, the process? If
Yeah,
it is
please.
not loaded,
Because I can't see AR camera also in my.
Okay. So once you open a package manager, okay, if the list is not properly populated, and then you should click on this reload button, the list should populate. Okay, and if it is not, click on this reload button, the list should populate again. Okay, and wait for it to complete the loading progress.
Okay. It is showing me updated.
Okay.
Yeah, but it is not showing me this kind of a list. Either the version is different, because I was not able to install the 14.1 as I told you before.
Okay, which version you have installed?
So mine is 4.28 F1.
4.28 F1, 2019.4.28 F1.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, no problem. If you so your Vuforia engine is not available in this list, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for you, you can click on show dependencies as well as show preview packages. Can you click on this show preview packages as well?
Let me see.
Under the advanced sections.
Where exactly is that?
So in this nearby the search option, there is an advanced section. If you click on it, there will be an option for show preview packages.
I think this is a very old package, old interface which I have got, because it's not showing any of the things what you have.
Okay, will it be possible for you to share your screen so that I can help you out with that?
Yeah, just give me a second, please.
Okay.
So I hope you're able to see the screen.
Not yet. Yeah, now your screen is presenting. Yeah. Okay, you're using 2018.4. Okay. So in 2018.4,
yeah, this is the only one which is showing in my list. I don't know why.
Okay, so in 2018.4 things are a bit different. Okay, all right. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. So if you're using 2018.4, there will be a bit of change in the process of integrating Vuforia. Okay, let me create one 2018.4 project and share that. Okay.
So it's okay. I think in the interest of time, if everyone else has been able to install.
It's a really small process, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm creating it. By the time it is creating the project, I will go for this because the process after that, after activating Vuforia, will be the same. So, okay. So I have deleted Vuforia from now, right now. I will go ahead and do it as like other people now will start to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, visible.
Yes. So let's go ahead and so as we, I hope everybody has imported Vuforia now. Is there any more issues, anything that is there that is making problem for anybody to import Vuforia onto their system before we start? Any questions? No? All right. All right. So I hope everybody has been able to install Vuforia onto their system. If not, let me go through the process again. After you create a simple project, you go to Window, Package Manager. Let the package manager load all the things that is available. If you want, you can navigate to Vuforia Engine AR. You're going to go ahead and install it. You're going to go ahead and click on this refresh button, which will refresh the package manager window, and click on Vuforia in the search. Like you will start type VU, that is short for Vuforia. You will go ahead and select. It will like the option will be there, will be grayed out for you, and you will be able to see this remove button, and you will be able to safely close this option. Once it is done, you will be able to verify whether the package has been installed or not by looking into this packages options. Under this, by the last, you will have Vuforia Engine AR. You will be able to see this folder which verifies whether the package has been installed or not. Now, once we are done, we're going to come back to the assets, and we should be creating a package. Okay. Now my Unity 2018 is also active. Let me go ahead and show you the process for Unity 2018 as well. Let me switch the screen. Now in this Unity 2018, things are a bit different. You don't get to see Vuforia in this package manager. So what you will have to do is you have to click on Build Settings. Now in this one, after clicking on Build Settings, you go ahead and select on Player Settings. Once you select the Player Settings, you open up this Inspector panel for Player Settings. Now at the very bottom, you do get an option for XR settings. Now under this, you have an option for virtual reality support and a 360 degree support. Now, where is here? Vuforia is removed from this as well. All right. This is for VR. Okay, yeah. So you have augmented reality. If you go ahead and click on it, it is going to give you a exe to be downloaded, a Unity plugin to be downloaded. If you click on this Vuforia augmented reality, if you click on this link, it will go ahead and download a package, a Unity package to be downloaded and installed. You download that package, and if you double click on it, you will get an option to import that package. So there will be an option to import as a package. You click on import all, and that will import the Vuforia package for you. It's a bit complex. Let me go ahead and search for over here as well. Let it load and show preview packages. So in this one, there is this option, advanced, show preview packages. Let it load, and I'll search for Vuforia. Right now, nothing for Vuforia, and this option is not available. So Vuforia is not available as a package in 2018. You will have to download it from as a package and then integrate it for your use case. Or if you want, you can just click on this. It will ask you to download it and use it there. Now let me again switch my screen.
Khagendra sir, you are muted.
Sorry for that.
No problem.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and click on create a AR camera. Okay. So to create an AR camera, I'm going to this game object, Vuforia engine, and click on AR camera. Once I do that, it will give me an AR camera. Now there you have options too. You can go ahead and delete this main camera, or if you want, you can keep this main camera as well. Anyhow, this main camera will be deleted when you go ahead and use it. Let's go ahead and look into this. What are the options? Now I can go ahead and set up this scene by clicking on, like by pressing an Alt button onto the keyboard, which will give me this eye option, which is allowing me to hover over this entire scene by just using left click. If I don't want to use this Alt button, I can press the center button, that is the scroll button. I can press that button and then move in order to rotate and move around the scene. I can also use this scroll button to zoom in and scroll button to zoom out. If I click on right click, I can again pan around through this scene. Now I have all these options of hand tool, move tool, rotate, scale, rect, and all the options at once, and this option for custom tools if you create some. Now if I go ahead and create a very simple cube, for example, I'm just going to go ahead and populate a very simple cube on this scene. I can go ahead and see this is a cube which is being populated in the scene. Now I can go ahead and put a plane over here, which will help me to go ahead and see this entire thing. Now if you go ahead and see this, let me go ahead and reset its position. Let me go ahead and reset the cube position as well, so that everything is at the center of the scene. Now let me go ahead and view it. Yes. Now if I go ahead and look it from this angle, now I can see this, that this cube and the plane are intersecting each other. The cube is not exactly on top of the plane. Now why this is? Because the cube has a center of mass and the center of pivot. The pivoting point is at the center, is at the real center of the cube, which you can say as the centroid, or technically the center of the cube. And the cube length is 1 unit high, 1 unit wide, and 1 unit of depth. So basically it is 0.5 unit above the ground and 0.5 unit under the ground. So if I go ahead and 5 unit, so 0.5 unit up down, it is going to go ahead and sit on top of the screen. Now if you go ahead and look into this, the shadows are exactly there, and if I go ahead and move it, this is what I call the real-time rendering. It is not taking even a single second, a single fraction of second to go ahead and calculate the shadow. Now, if you say that this shadow is exactly pointing at one direction, I can go ahead and rotate the sun to point the shadow at different angles and different direction. If you want, you can also make the shadow lighter or brighter according to your choice. Now there are multiple different components for this cube. What is the main component is that we don't have any colors on this. So in order to apply a color, we will be required to create a material. So let me go ahead and create a folder for this, and I'm going to name this folder as matte, which will signify a material folder for me. Now I'm going to go ahead and open this material folder by double clicking on this, and I'm going to go ahead and go for right click on create, and I'm going to go ahead and create a material now. Now this material is basically a simple material, and I'm going to name this as red. And now if I go ahead and, okay, I think everybody should be able to create till this point. And before I change the color and explain the material properties, I just want to know if is everybody has been able to follow along, or was I moving really fast?
So, sir, for me, I am at least trying to install the other version once again.
Okay.
Because 2018 is not giving any option to do the
No, ma'am, you can actually import it. You will be able to do it. You can just go ahead and download that package, which the build option is giving you for. So click on file, build settings.
So I'm trying both the things, whichever happens first.
Okay, no problem. What about others? Have they been able to follow along?
I think others are not actually using this, and they have not downloaded probably.
Okay.
That's why they are not facing any problem.
Okay.
For me, I
Should I
download it properly?
Okay. Should I continue?
Yes, sir, you may continue.
Okay. So now, in order to change the color of the material, I can go ahead and select the material, and I can change the albedo property. Now, albedo property is, if you are familiar with the 3D environment, albedo property does allow you to go ahead and add a texture, as well as it will also allow you to go ahead and change the color of it. If you go ahead and import a texture with an alpha channel, it will help you to go ahead and do that as well. Now, there are a lot of textures that you can go ahead and import, and you can go ahead and apply. But for now, I'm going to just go ahead and use this albedo property only and make it look like a red color box. So I'm going to go ahead and select this red color for my use case, which looks pretty nice to me. But right now, this red color is okay, but I usually prefer to have some emission to all the objects that I use. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a very slight red color emission for my use case, and this intensity I'm going to go ahead and decrease it. Now this kind of red.
Actually, you are following. Actually, the fonts are very small. That is why we cannot follow properly. Which property are you following right now?
I'm following the albedo property. If you want, I can make it bigger. I can try to
So,
make it bigger.
so if you please make the font bigger, it will be easier for us to understand.
Okay, okay. Let me just go ahead and do that. Just a second, it will log me out actually. Just a second, it is relaunching Unity now. Is it visible now?
Yes, it is visible right now.
All right. So I'm going to click on this albedo property to change the color. So in order to change the color, I'm just going to go ahead and change the color to the red. And since I usually like the emission to apply to all of my material, I'm going to go ahead and add the red color emission to my material as well. And if I'm using the zero emission, it is going to go ahead and make it really bright. So I'm going to just make it -1 so that it makes it emissive, but at the same time, it does not make it too much emissive and does not make it like a red bulb. I'm going to go ahead and go for the plane as well again, and I'm going to go ahead and create a cube as well. Now, once I do that, it is again giving me the same options of getting it under the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and put the plane above as 0.5 units up. Let me go ahead and fix the plane as well. If I go ahead and reset it, the plane is fixed and the cube is also fixed. Now let me go ahead and add this material on top of my cube. Now in order to add it, I can just go ahead and drag it on top of my object onto the hierarchy, or I can go ahead and add it on top of my, I can just drag it and drop it onto the object where I want to add it. So if I go ahead and add it, it will change the material property over here as well. And the shortcut option for that is basically drag it and drag it on top of the inspector, and it will do that as well. Now, once it is applied, we can see these options are there and we can go ahead and change the shadows as well. Right now, you won't be able to look into all these options that there should be a light reflecting at by the end of it, but that is not available right now because it's a real-time baking and we do, even there should be a slight cheating, or if you go ahead and try to achieve everything in one go, that will actually give you some performance hit. So in order to increase the performance, we are not going to go ahead and calculate the actual light counts. We are just go ahead and calculating the ray bounces right now. We are not calculating we are not looking into all the texels or all the vertex and edges which might be projecting the lights. What we are looking into is we are looking at the light source only, which is responsible to creating shadows. So that is how we achieve real time by reducing the load on top of the computer. Although there are some significant performance, like significant graphics quality hit that we take while developing this, but looking into the benefits of it, it is okay. And if you want, you can go ahead and put some light peaks and put some light probes which is a bit of an advanced topic. If you go ahead and put in some light bugs and light probes, you will be able to achieve that realistic effect. Now, moving on, I have this cube, I have this plane. I can go ahead and scale all of it by changing it to scale property. Now, in the scale property, before I explain the scale property, I can move all this. This blue axis will give me the Y direction. This green axis will give me this Y direction, and I can change it in any of the direction as possible. If I select this cube, I can move up in Y direction, I can move in X direction, and I can move in Z direction as well. Now, all of this can be verified from the transform package that you have that says which component you are dragging. If I go ahead and select the red component, you can keep an eye on this. It is going to go ahead and change the X component only. Now, if I want to change in all the directions, I can select the center button, which is like not selectable. It is not also advised to select the center button, but if you want to move in the two axes, so you can select the axis which is at the center, which says between X and Z axis, you can select this, and now if you move it, you are moving it in X and Z coordinate, but not in Y coordinate. Now, similarly, you can go ahead and change in X and Y, Y and Z, and similarly X and Y, and make it go ahead and go for it. Now, let me go ahead and put it back to 0.5 and 0 position. You can go ahead and enter values over here as well. In fact, you can also go ahead and put some mathematical equation. So for example, if I have to write 0.5, I can write 1 divided by 2, which is 0.5, and it will also be able to calculate accordingly. Now, moving on, if I want to scale it, I can go to the scale property of it, and I can scale it in X direction, I can scale it in Y direction, and I can scale it in Z direction. So using the scale options. But if I want to, let's say if I have a character, if I have some object which I don't want to scale in one particular direction, and I want to scale it in all the directions in the maintaining the ratio and maintaining the proportion. So I can go ahead and use the center button, and I can click on it and then scale it. Then it will scale in all direction as in proportion. If you look into this, the scale factor for X is 2.1993, the same for Y and the same for Z, which basically says that you have scaled in all directions at the same scale or in the same proportion. Now, giving you all this information, and also you can go ahead and rotate it depending upon your liking and your choice, how you want to go ahead and place this object on top of your environment. So you can go ahead and rotate it according to your liking as well. Now, moving on, I'm going to go ahead and delete both of it because I do want to go ahead and create an AR application. So for now, again, I'm going to add an AR camera, and for this, I need to go ahead and look into confirm whether the world center mode is device. I'm going to go ahead and double confirm the device mode. I'm going to go for this AR app license. I have already added my license. I can go ahead into the device track pose. I'm just putting it for track device position, and I'm tracking mode is positional. That's for sure now. And I'm going to go ahead and select my camera. Once all these options are selected, now I do need to create my Vuforia is ready. I'm going to go ahead and cross verify again whether my camera is working or not. Let me go ahead and make this check. So I'm going to go for playing my camera, and if it is running properly, which it is, so I will be able to use it. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to my Vuforia application in order to go ahead and have an image target. So let me go ahead and open up a new window again onto the Chrome so that I can open up the Vuforia developer option. So I'm going to go to Vuforia, and I'm going to go ahead and share the window of Vuforia. So right now I'm here, I'm going to my dashboard, which is basically account. Okay, and I'm going to go to account, and it is just giving me that. I'm just going to go to home and develop. Yes. And I'm gonna go ahead and I have a license key over here. What I want is I want my target manager. Now in target manager, you can have, let me go ahead and open this option over here. This is basically a image target, and you can go ahead and add an image target. Let me go ahead and add an image target. So let me go ahead and download an image. So I'm gonna go ahead and download an image of, let's say, let me go ahead and search image. Let's see what it gives. So let me go ahead and take one image of okay, this orange. I'm gonna go ahead and download this orange. So let me go ahead and download this image onto my desktop, and I will be able to select this image later on, which will allow me to go ahead and add it. Now I'm gonna go to add target. Width of this object, and I'm going to click on add. Now it is not taking this image as it is while target placed. Okay, so this target is not being added, so let me go ahead and go for another image. Let me go ahead and take this image now, so that I can just go ahead and add it. So let me just take this image and save it. And let me go ahead and add this target for now. Change the width to 1, and I'm gonna just change the URL name, and let me go ahead and upload it. Once I upload it, you can see that this image got uploaded, and this image is getting a rating. Now what is that rating actually? What does that rating mean? So this rating is about how augmentable this image is. I can go ahead and see that there is a 5-star rating to this. Now what does this rating and what does it say? So if you go ahead and click on show features, it is showing you all the target points which it will use in order to go ahead and utilize all these options. So these are the market, and these are the places which will be utilized by this object to be shown as the marker choices. Now I do have a book alongside with me, which I'll show you just now. I do have a book alongside with me, which I'll be using as an augmentable marker actually. So I will be using this book, which I have right now in front of me. I'll be using this book in order to augment the image. So I do have an image. Let me go ahead and use a different target or a different library for this. So in this AR1, I do have one image, which is basically Billy image, which is basically the book image of the book which I have right now, which I will be able to use both for the phone and for the computer to augment the image. So I can go ahead and show the features, which is also having a 5-star image, and this image is also available. So I'm going to go ahead and download this package. So in order to download it, I'm going to go ahead and select both the targets, because I also want to show you how you can go ahead and change the targets. So I'm going to go ahead and download this database. Now, while you click on this download database, you will be asked to select for what you want to download the database. So for now, I'm going to select that I want to download the database for Unity Editor, and I'm going to click on download. While by the process as it is downloading, let me show you the process of creating a target database. Now, in order to create a target database, what you can do is you can go to the target manager, and it just says add database, and that's simple. Go ahead and add a name. What kind of database you want? You want an on-device database, you want a cloud database, or a VU-mark database. For now, I have created an on-device database where the images will be stored on top of the device, so it will have unlimited access of using what kind of data or how many augmentation you want to go for. Now, moving on, my database is downloaded. Once it is downloaded, let me go ahead and switch the screen so that you will be able to see how it will import. Let me go ahead and open it over here. So, okay. Right. Right now it is not okay. All right, so it is giving me some issues while importing. Let's go ahead and fix it in the runtime so that you can also see how to fix these kind of errors. So right now it is not giving me the downloaded option is not giving me the, if I double click on it, it is not giving me the option to import. Now how can I do that? I can go ahead and drag and drop that data that we have. I can just go ahead and drag it and drop it on top of my Unity so that it just imports it directly. So if I go ahead and drag and drop it on top of Unity, it's going to go ahead and open the importing panel. Let me see whether you can see it or not. Yes, so if I drag and drop it, you can see there is a Unity import window opens up, which is allowing me to go ahead and import this window, import all these options. So I'm going to go ahead and select import, which will import all the data that is available onto that database. Now, after I import all these details, I'm going to go ahead and select my AR camera, and over here, I can go to the game object again, and I can click on image. Now, once I click on image, make sure that you are using this AR camera as a parent, and then you are importing. Right now, if you go ahead and look into this, well, this is not the image which I want to augment. This is one of the boarding passes which I was using. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to Billy, and now I can change this image database. Now this image is again there, and the type of it is predefined database. Now I can go ahead and try to augment this image or augment this object any way I want. So in order to create an augmentable image on top of it, let's go ahead and create a simple cube, which if I create a cube, which basically takes the entire area out of it, I'm going to go ahead and make it small so that I can just fit it on top of it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it on top of it again, and I can just see whether this is augmenting, this is being placed properly or not. Yes, it is being placed properly, and I can go ahead and try to augment it now. Once it is done, and this is just this much, in order to, you just have to put it as an augmented image of it or a nested object of it for the image target, and it will be good to go. Let's go ahead and play this scene. Let me go ahead and close my camera from here. And if I go ahead and play this scene, I will be able to augment this image. Let's go ahead and do that. So now if you see, there is no book on top of me. Now if I bring in this book, you can see this cube is placed on top of it. And right now, if I go ahead and make any clicks on this or do anything on here, it is not making any changes. Now, in order to make any changes, in order to make it interactive, right now, if you go ahead and look into this, I can just go ahead and rotate, and it is still able to maintain, although it is slightly jittery because of the fact that it is running from a computer and computer webcam, not just a mobile webcam. Let's go ahead and put it there. Now, in order to do that, let's go ahead and extract out this AR camera from this and put it as an independent object, as an image target. Now let's see, does it handles properly or not. Now if I go ahead and do that, it does handle properly, and it is still able to track these images once this image is augmented, and it is going good. Now let's go ahead and try to go ahead and create some augmentation on it. So let's go ahead and disable the track pose for now, and let's go ahead and use it. Now for any asset to be used on top of it, I'm going to go ahead and go to the asset store. Let me go ahead and open the asset store for me. I'm going to go to the asset store, and I'm going to download one asset which I can use for augmenting on top of this object. So instead of just the cube, I can go ahead and augment any asset that is available on top of it. So let me go ahead and download some asset. So I'm going to go ahead and download an asset for Barbarian. Let's go ahead and search. And if I go ahead and search for Barbarian, let's see whether there is any free assets or not. So I'm going to go ahead and select for pricing, and I'm going to go for free assets, and let's see. Well, I do have a Barbarian, so let's go ahead and download it. So it is already downloaded on my computer. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on import, and it will import this barbarian asset for me. I'm gonna go ahead and import it, and I'm gonna change this cube with this barbarian to be spawned. Now let me go ahead and do that, and let me swap this image with the barbarian. So I have a barbarian folder. I'm gonna go with this models, and inside this I do have a FBX models of it. Let me go ahead and try to find out whether do I have a prefab or anything of that sort. If I have it, I will use that, but right now I don't have any prefab, so I have this barbarian model. I'm gonna go ahead and use this barbarian. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag and drop this barbarian on top of my image target, and right now if you see, this barbarian is too big over there. So let me go ahead and change the lighting over here. Let's go for the directional light and change the lighting angle so that it is lighting the face of barbarian for now. And I'm gonna go for 260 degree of movement rotation, which is basically okay for me, and I can go ahead and make it look furious over here. Let me go ahead and scale it down so that it looks okay for the barbarian to scale. Now if I go ahead and scale it down, I will
I think Khagendra sir got disconnected. Dear participants, let's wait for the call.
yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, sir is there.
Did you miss anything from the session? Hello? Did you miss
Yes,
anything
sir.
from the session? Did you miss?
No, I think towards the end, sir, you were not audible.
Okay.
Maybe for 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay, last 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and repeat it. What I was doing, I was just changing the scale of the barbarian, changing the light direction. That is the directional light. I was just changing the directional light of it so that it lights up the barbarian properly, and I was just looking into the barbarian view. Now I have just added one more cube and the barbarian at the same instance and on the same image so that I can go ahead and create a script which will basically try to change the color of this cube. So right now this barbarian is no use for me. I just showed you how you can go ahead and use it. So I'm going to use this cube over here and I'll try to go ahead and access it. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a empty game object. Empty game objects are usually there for having a lot of there for organizational purposes. For now, for this instance, I'm going to use this to be used as a game manager. So I'm going to go ahead and name it as game manager, which I'll use in order to create a script and reference it so that it can go ahead and do all of the other works which I want to do. Now for this, I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder for script. So I'm going to go ahead and create a script now in order to be used with this. Now I can go ahead and create a C# script and I'm going to name it as game manager. Now, once I name it as game manager, the icon changes as a game manager. Now I'm going to go ahead and open this script in my Visual Studio. Let's go ahead and look into what I'm going to do in Visual Studio and how I'm going to go ahead and change the color of it. So let's go ahead and open Visual Studio, and let me switch the screen for this. So right now, if you open up the Visual Studio, this by default, any object that you are creating or any script that you will create for Unity, this will have this component, or these things will be available by default. So for now, let's go ahead and have a public. So I am creating a public variable. So any public variable that you will create will be available as a editable component inside Unity. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a public. Let's say I'm going to name it as public game object. I'm creating a game object and I'm naming it as object1, which I will use to change the color. Now in this update, okay, and I'm going to go ahead and in update method, basically start method is whenever the game starts, update is the method. It runs every frame. So let's say, for example, your game is running at 40 frames per second or 50 frames per second. Update is going to go ahead and get called. So let me show you how it's happening. So let me go ahead and create a variable, let's say integer count. Let me go ahead and create a variable integer count, and let me go ahead and give it a value as 0. And I'm going to go ahead and put debug.log. So I'm going to just go ahead and log this value into the console saying count plus plus. Now count plus plus, I'm going to go ahead and debug it. Let's see if I go ahead and run it. Now in order to run it, I must save this script. Once I save it, the star that is available over here, it will be gone. So now I'm saving it, the star is gone. And if I go to my Unity screen, let me switch the screen back again. If I come back over here and look at the console, it has a lot of things that is there, but let me just go ahead and go for it. And if I play it now, I will be able to see that log that is counting on the values. Now, if you go ahead and look into this, there are a lot of audio listeners, and where is the count? Where is the count? So it is just starting the Vuforia engine and there is no count. So let me go ahead and look into their 2 audio listeners. Okay. Let me go ahead and delete the main camera and let's go ahead and look into where is the count. Okay. So the count is not available because I have not attached this game manager or the script onto any of the components. So I'm going to go ahead and use this script onto my game object by dragging it and dropping it onto the inspector. That's where I can go ahead and add a game manager script. Now, if you look into this, it is asking for a game object as well. Right now, I'm just putting none. I'm not selecting anything. And if I go ahead and play it now and look into the console, I can go ahead and look into that. There should be one data that is constantly printing out the value of count, which is over here. You can see that this value is constantly being printed out, and it is jumping like crazy, and it is jumping because of this statistics. So right now, if you look into this data is running at 400 to 500 frames per second, and that's how much is also this update function is going in 1 second. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop it, and I can go ahead and now try to use this. Now, since I want to change and I want to access my cube, I'm going to go ahead and put this cube as a game object over here. So I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop it on top of my cube and the object over here. Now I get this cube. Now, one thing to be noted over here is that how this object is being rendered. So this object, so this renderer component is a part of this component system that is on top of this cube. So there is a transform component, there is a cube component, there is a renderer component which is responsible for rendering the mesh out of it. So if you look into this, if I go ahead and disable this mesh renderer, the cube is not visible, and if I enable this mesh renderer, this cube is visible. So this mesh renderer is taking part, is actually rendering this entire area, and it is responsible for go ahead and render the size, and it is also looking into the material, what kind of material it will use, what will be the color of it, what will be the size of it, and how it will go ahead and look like. So I'm going to go ahead and use this renderer component in order to change the color. Okay, so let me go ahead and use this renderer component in my script. So I have given this cube as a reference to my object, which I'll be using, which I'll be referring in my script. I'll use this to be edited. So let's go ahead and go for it. So let me go ahead and switch the screen back to Visual Studio, and let's see. Now, once I'm on Visual Studio, what are the things that I'll have to do? Now, I need to go ahead and refer to the renderer component. I need to look into the renderer component of that game object. So, in order to be looking into the renderer component, what I can do is I can go ahead and look into how we can go ahead and look into the component of it. So in order to, I don't want to access the renderer component of it again and again. So I'm going to go ahead and create a private variable of renderer type. Okay. Now this is yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and use the renderer component over here. So I'm going to go ahead and use this renderer component over here, and I'm going to go ahead and type obj1, which is my exact reference for my rendering engine. And I'm going to go ahead and use it for the rendering purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and use object over here, and I'm going to go ahead and type in get component, and I'm going to go ahead and type in renderer, which will allow me to access the rendering component of this. Now, once I have this renderer, I can go ahead and create an event, how I want to change it. Now, there can be multiple events. Now, if you're developing for mobile, you will have to, like, the events will be different. Do you want to go for a key press? Do you want to go for a touch, or you want to go for a mouse click? What kind of event you are planning to go for? So if you have been working with the cross-platform, you will be able to understand that get mouse click 0 is as response to the touch events as well. So I'm going to go ahead and use this get mouse click event. So I'm going to go ahead and go for if input, or I can go for get mouse click. So let me go ahead and go for input event for input dot get mouse button down, or get mouse button 0. I can go ahead and get a mouse click. Now 0 is basically for the left click, 1 is basically for the right click. And if I go ahead and if I'm pressing the mouse button, which is equivalent of tap for the mobile screens as well, I can go ahead and debug.log. Okay, and I'm gonna say, like, type a string that touch or click event happened. Now, once I go ahead and do this, it is going to give me this option of, it is going to go ahead and debug it only after there is a mouse click or there is a event that has happened. So let's go ahead and go for it. Now, in order to go for it, let me go ahead and save it again. So this event is saved. Sorry, this code is saved. Let me go to the project window and let me switch my screen to Unity so that you can see it. Let me, yes. So this Unity screen is visible to you, I guess. Now once it is there, I can go ahead and run it. I can go ahead and augment this image as well. And now if I click on it, it should log. Let me looking into the console right now. It is not consoling anything. If I click on it, so if you look into this, there is an event that has happened. And if I'm clicking onto it constantly, it is changing it as well. Now, if I'm clicking it, it is changing it a lot of times, because in that same domain, in that same time, it is having a lot of, it registering a lot of clicks. So let's go ahead and look into how we can go ahead and change the properties of it and go ahead and change the color of it. So now let's go ahead and try to do it. Now let's go ahead and do it. So in order to change the color now, let me go ahead and switch it. Let me go ahead and switch the window to the coding area. Now in order to change the color, we're gonna go ahead and look into how we can go ahead and change the color of it. So in order to change the color, what we do need is we need the color component of the materials. So we're gonna go ahead and change the color of it. In order to change the color of it, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and change the use the renderer component to change the color. Okay, how are we gonna go ahead and change it? So let's go ahead and look into how we can go ahead and access the material and change the color. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this renderer component right now, and I'm gonna write renderer.material.color. Now this is actually accessing the material inside the renderer component and changing the color property of it. Now what should be the color of it? So I'm gonna go ahead and change the color of color dot. Now I can go ahead and define red. So anytime if I click on it, this will change the color to red. Now instead of get button, I'm gonna go for get button down so that it can go ahead and just register only if I'm clicking. So basically if get button is there, that means by the time it is taking the it is just taking like how long the button is being pressed or button is in down state or not. Get button down says if it is being pressed, then it will just register one event, and until it is being released, it is not going to register any more events. So I'm just using get mouse button down, and I'm going to go ahead and use this property in order to utilize it for my scene. Let's go ahead and run it now. Let me change the screen, change the view for you to see it. And if I go ahead and switch the view, the Unity engine, and if I go ahead and clear everything, and if I go ahead and play this scene now, I can go ahead and look into this object, and if I click, it is changing the color to red. Now right now if I go ahead and click anymore, it is not doing anything because we don't have anything over here to process. Now it's up to you to go ahead and write a logic, or if you want to go ahead and have a random color change, you can go ahead and create a logic for that. Now moving on, what are the other things that we can do? Now this one was for mouse button. What should happen if I want to go ahead and process the touch events, exact touch events? I don't want to use the mouse events, I want to use the touch events. So what should I do? What should be the code for Unity touch events? So in order to do that, let's go ahead and look into how we can go ahead and write a program or write an event for touch. So for that one, let's go ahead and go for it. So for the touch to happen, I will go for input dot get touch. So if I go ahead and go for get touch, now this is basically the touch event, whether it is touching or not. Okay, now input dot get touch is not going to give us anything, so we're going to go ahead and try to find out whether touching is happening or not. If yes, then we're going to go ahead and go for like how we're going to go ahead and use the touch events for this.
So we're not able to see your code window.
Script is not visible.
Okay, just a second. Yeah, sorry. So we're gonna go ahead and try to use this input dot touch. Now touches has a lot of inputs. If you can see, you have a get touch, you have get touches, you have touch count, and all these options. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this touch count, which is basically how many times the touch is happening. So if the touch count is greater than 0, then it means that it is being touched right now. Now this touch count will obviously be reset every time you release the click. So if the touch count is 0, that means you're touching it at some place. It can also support Unity touches also supports 6 simultaneous touches at a single instance of time. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the touch. Now once there is a touch, I can go ahead and use this color property over here so that I can just go ahead and see whether if the touch count is greater than 0, then it's going to go ahead and change the color. Now, in order to test this, we're going to have to build it for mobile phone. So let's go ahead and let me go ahead and comment this one out and save it again. Now, how do I test it? I need to build it for an Android device or any mobile device, then only I will be able to test it. Now, how do I go ahead and build it for Android? So let me go back to Unity again to be able to build it for the Android device. Now, this is a very simple controller for the touch mechanism. If you want, you can go ahead and use have this code as well, which will allow you to go ahead and have multiple inputs. But this two code right now, this input.touch count and get mouse button down, is actually makes it redundant and duplicate code, because get mouse button down 0 actually has the similar code of touch count, and it does respond for touch count as well. That's why I'm blocking it, or I'm commenting it out. So let me go ahead and run it and deploy it for the Android device. So in order to deploy it for Android device, let me go ahead and switch the screen. So once I'm here back into the Unity, now how do I go ahead and build for Android? Right now, if I go ahead and file and build settings, in this one, I can see that this is for PC, Mac, and Linux interface. Now, if I go ahead and build it, I'm gonna get a Unity file which will be able to run on PC, Mac, and Linux file, which will not run on top of any Android device. Now, in order to build it on top of any Android device, we'll have to switch the platform. So right now, if you go ahead and select Android, if you don't have Android build settings installed or Android build support installed, you won't be getting this option. You will be getting an option of something of this sort. I don't have Windows platform build support installed, so it is asking me to go ahead and install it with Unity Hub. But if I go ahead and select Android and switch platform now, I can go ahead and switch the platform, which will allow me to go ahead and build for Android. Now, once I switch, it is going to go ahead and import all the other scripts and all the other assets and optimize it for the Android users. Let me show you how it does optimize it once this process is done. I hope everyone is clear till this step. Any doubts till this step?
Yes, sir. No doubt.
Okay, great. Let it go ahead and import it properly, and I'll show you what are the changes it does make during the import phase of it. Now, once it is changed, you can see there is a Unity icon which also got changed. And now if you go ahead and click on build, it will build it, but it will not have anything. It will build a completely blank scene. Why? Because you don't have any scenes to be built inside this Unity. So you have to click on add open scene, which will basically ask you to save the scene first, as we have not saved it. So let me go ahead and save it by naming it as scene 1. And if I go ahead and save it, now it saves scene 1, and it is giving this check mark. Now in this one, you can also see this counter, which is basically the scene count, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It will be happening in that fashion if you have multiple scenes, and it will be like you can go ahead and reorder it or change the scene depending upon your use case. Now once this scene is there, let's go ahead and look into what are the actual changes it has made. So let's go to the project and let's go into the Barbarian and let's go into some properties of it. Let's say, for example, textures. Now it has some textures which is there. Now in this one, it is basically the textures of the body and the clothes that is there, that is on top of the Barbarian body. Now if you go ahead and look into this, this is the default properties in the inspector. Now if you go ahead and look into all these other options, it does have options like you can go ahead and override the property of so that it does not use a default property, and you can go ahead and change the properties like what will be the maximum size of the texture, what will be the compression part, what will be the compression quality, and all of it. Right now it is normal, but if I go ahead and overwrite it and change the quality, it will help me to reduce the size of my APK, and it will help me to build a proper sizable APK. Now, will it be possible so that will it be possible that I can preview the game in the editor? Yes, you can still preview this game in the editor, and in fact you can have side-by-side editor as well. So let me go ahead and dock it over here so that you can actually see what exactly happens when you go ahead and play it. Right now it is disabled maximize on play. So if I have this scene playing like this, so I'm going to go ahead and import it. Again, as I have changed this property a bit, so it is re-importing it and it is playing. Right now you can see there is nothing on the scene, and this barbarian or this image target is not available in this scene. But if I go ahead and bring this up, it just populates in there, and now this cube is also there. Now if I go ahead and select this cube and try to focus it on this scene, you can see I am able to relocate and move it. Now this is exactly similar concept of using it in virtual production, using which Unity assisted the team of Lion King and the Jungle Book to develop a movie completely inside Unity. So this is actually like you're tracking the objects and tracking the movie and along with the camera, so that you can build an entire movie and record it at the same instant. So right now you see there is no image animation, but you can actually see this entire object that is moving around the virtual space. Right now again, properly able to move it around. If I click on it, it does not do anything because mouse click does not respond to touch events. Only touch event will respond to touch event, but the mouse click, the touch event does not respond to mouse click, but the mouse click respond to the touch event. So we're gonna go ahead and have it built for the Android for our use case. How do I go ahead and create an APK out of it? So we're gonna go back again to the build settings. And in this one, there are a lot of options that we should look into before we click on build. So in this player settings, we should be changing the company name. That is basically the name of the package that you want to build. And you can go ahead and change the icon of your app and change the cursor of your app. And since we are building for Android, it is giving us the options for Android over here. Now let's go ahead and look into more options. So this is again by default the icon options that is just over here. And on top of it, there are lots of options. Let's go ahead and look into all of it. It just hanged for now. Let's see why. Okay, that's right. Now you can go ahead and change different icons, as Android allows you to go ahead and select the adaptive icons and round legacy icons and all. You can go ahead and add all the type of icons that you want to use. In fact, you can go ahead and select what kind of resolution that you want or what kind of support you want. So in this one, there is one option. If you go ahead and try to build it, it will be asking you to go ahead and disable the support for television. So let's go ahead and find where we can go ahead and disable the support for televisions, as well as Android does have a TV module as well. So right now it is saying whether to start in full screen mode or not. Yes, I want to start in full screen mode. So all these options are there. And what is your 3D buffer and all, it is all, the options are also there. In fact, you can also go ahead and change the splash image. By default, it will also give you the Unity logo below, and it will also open up the Unity icon that will be there. In fact, you can go ahead and also change the other settings, which is basically there. Now, it has the multi-threaded rendering, which is required. And let's go ahead and find out about this TV, Android TV compatibility. It is disabled for now, which is good to see. Now, if you want, you can, whenever you are trying to develop an Android application, it does ask for the package name. So go ahead and change the package name over here so that it can be properly exported and uploaded onto the Play Store. As well as if you want to change the version of your game, you can go ahead and do that. And you can also change the build version as well. Right now, it is building for minimum API level of 4.4, which should change to API 7 minimum, because after that only the Android Vuforia starts supporting. You should either choose Android 7 or 7.1. I'm going to choose Android 7, and I'm going to use this highest level of API installed in my system to use for the build. Now after this, I can go ahead and use any kind of assets, or right now this input handling system is basically the old input manager, which you will be able to see later on. And yeah. All other options, if you want to publish and sign it, you can go ahead and add a key store, which will help you to go ahead and sign your application directly from Unity as well. And once you are done, you can go ahead and click on build, which will allow you to go ahead and make a build out of it. Once you click on build, it will ask you where to save it. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder for build, and I'm going to go ahead and name this build as first APK, and it's going to go ahead and build an APK, and I'm going to go ahead and click on save, so that it's going to go ahead and build the Android APK for me. I just have to wait so that it creates an APK for me, and I will be able to deploy it onto my device by just copying the APK and side loading it so that it can just run. Now, if you have your device compatible, and if you want, you can also connect your device into the USB debugging mode and then directly click on build and run, which will basically build it and run it on top of your device directly. Any questions? Any questions?
So actually, we'll have to practice it once, and
Okay.
the session was going so fast that I couldn't follow it side by side. So
Okay.
probably the questions will come once we practice.
Okay, no problem. And anything that you want to ask straight away on top of like what I have done and what I have shown you, you can ask me that question as well. Right now it is building. It will say take some time to build, and it will be able to give me the APK. So this is the usual development process where you go ahead and create a scene in the 3D environment or in the universal render pipeline. You go ahead and build the entire game, then you switch it to the Android platform, or if you're really sure that you're going to go ahead and develop it only for the Android platform, you switch it for the Android platform just at the beginning of the project, and then you're going to go ahead and build it. And that's how you're going to go ahead and build it for the project. So this is very usual practice. There's nothing wrong in that, and it just happens. As simple as that. So as I've shown you that it's the similar process for iOS and Windows as well. Now for Windows and iOS, it does takes a little step extra. That means that if you are going to build for Windows, a universal Windows platform or UWP application, it is going to give you a Visual Studio code where you will have to create an exe file from Visual Studio. And if you're building for iOS, it is going to give you a Xcode file for the iOS. Right now, if you see, the build succeeded, and I can go ahead and look into that whether I have an SDK or not. So I can just go ahead and share the folder view where it is created an exe file. So if you show an APK file, if I show it to you, this is an APK file which is available to me. So this is an APK file which just got created, and I can go ahead and copy it onto my Android phone to be used directly. Any questions? Anything that you want to ask?
Yeah. So is this project complete now?
Yes, this project is complete.
Yeah. So earlier you showed one plane, and on top of that you had a cube. So supposing I want to use that kind of scenario for my classroom. Let's say I want to any simple example. Let's say in the cube I want to place a number.
Yes.
And then probably I have two cubes and two different numbers, and then I swap,
Yes.
the numbers. So How much time according to you that project should take? 15-20 minutes?
Yeah, max 15 to 20 minutes, depending upon the scripts and depending upon how you are planning to interact with them. So interaction is a bit still like in the development area. How you're gonna go ahead and interact with 3D objects in terms of augmented reality, because when you are trying to spawn a cube, whenever you are trying to create a cube onto the real world, you don't want to be interacting with that cube through your mobile phone. What you want is you want your hands to be tracked as well. So hand tracking is still in the development and research, although there are some SDKs which has given this like flexibility to go ahead and use hand tracking. That is again it's in like very early stage, so that's why I haven't gone for hand tracking. But yeah, if you want, you can go ahead and use hand tracking. But as you said, you want to go ahead and just swap it. So in order to just show the swapping, where you are planning to augment the image, are you planning to augment the table or are you planning to augment an image? In case of an you are planning to augment it on top of the table. So on top of the table, either you will have to put some QR codes on top of the table so that it can detect as an image marker, or if you want to detect as a plane so that you don't have to go ahead and always carry a QR code, you will have to go ahead and use something called as a plane detection, which actually detects whether it's a plane surface or not, it's a horizontal or a vertical surface or not. So after detecting that, you will be able to augment it on top of it, and then accordingly you can write a script to swap, which will basically swap it if you want to be happen at just one click, or if you want hand tracking to be there, that is a completely different scenario.
Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Any more questions from the participants?
Madam, I think already I have shared the YouTube link in the FTP group, Telegram group. And I hope participants will go to that videos, record video, and then once they will practice, then there may be some questions. What Madam says is actually correct. Understanding it is faster, yes, because already Khagendra sir is very much expert in that. That's why what he did actually following that process also very difficult.